Had to redo the sound, and hopefully you can hear me okay. Welcome to the live stream. This is the biohackerPT, physical therapy hacks. Now, I wanted to go ahead and continue on where we left off last time, and that was dealing with the role of serotonin. And we need to look at that in regards to pain. Now, we're still working out the technical details and seeing if we can make this broadcast smooth. Working on the lighting just a little bit. So this broadcast isn't 100% professionally planned at this point. A little bit more of the amateurish side today. We're waiting for Twitch to kick in. We're on multiple platforms. We're on Periscope. We're on Twitch. We're on Facebook Live. We are on YouTube Live. We are also on Joshu TV. 5 different platforms, and all coordinated towards this effort of giving information, education, and at some times inspiration. So hopefully you can hear me okay and you are able to join the chat. Now, if you look up on the screen here, and it's going to probably be flipped around, but on the screen here, on one section talks about how you can join in via voice or even video. You have to connect to Discord, and I have the biohackerPT, and there's a number on there. I can't see it very clearly on my screen, but I think it's, let me just look really quick. 7376. Right? So you can connect to that, so you can join me via Discord video or voice. You can also join with the chat. We have multiple connections here with the chat. It should all be coming in very nicely through Restream. Okay. Still waiting for a few items here. All right, I see that there is one observer. Welcome. And we're going to talk about the role of serotonin here in a minute. Now, if you look at the last video that I had, we looked at several different articles and how serotonin is important in the body. Now, let's see if we can look this up here. All right, so we're going to go to that again, and we're going to review where we left off. Now, let me see if I can find that. Now, if you go back one video, wherever you're looking at, you can see the references to our last meeting. So we're looking at the pain connection. Now, you might not have chronic pain. You might have other issues. Chronic inflammation. And that inflammation is affecting your immunity. And affecting, could be your skin, could be your digestive tract, constant bloating or nausea, autoimmune issues like irritable bowel syndrome. Now, dealing with the pain connection, you can deal with things like fibromyalgia. Now, this is the approach that I have. We're dealing with not only the structural approach, but the functional approach as well. And what do I mean by that? Well, the structural approach is when you go to a clinic, the physical therapist has the anatomy poster on the wall, and they'll say, aha, this is what you have. Now, we don't necessarily have to associate the structure with your pain. It could be something else, what I call the functional part. Now, there are people in functional medicine that deal with these certain aspects, the biochemistry, the neurophysiology. Now, let me see here. Just looking at this, making sure that we are on. Yes, we are. Good. Now, let's look in review where we were last time. And it's good to do the review anyway. We're using a search engine called Joshu Search. All right, so we're going to go ahead and utilize this. And the specific one here deals with serotonin. So we go ahead and have this plugged in, and we're looking at the source. And these are different articles. Now, what's nice about Joshu and its search engine, and I compared this just the other day, maybe not here, but if you look at 3 different search engines, maybe even 4, let's just go with one for a moment. Let's go with Bing. And as we look at Bing, we're going to put on the same here, serotonin source, or source, or source. All right, so we have very similar results. Now notice, do you see anything that is like more of a research-based website? You have Healthline promoting their products. And if you're enjoying the last moments of Amazon, go right ahead and buying your things there, because that's promoted by Healthline quite a bit. Medical News Today. Now, this one here is a nice research type of setting. Not exactly pure research, but Wikipedia. Pros and cons of Wikipedia. 8 foods that boost serotonin naturally, okay? Healthline again. Live Strong or Live Strong. Healthline again. So you can see, you know, how many are what we call PubMed. That's a research one, and also the government one here as well called, let's see if we can find it here, there it is. This is actually PubMed. ncbinlmnih.gov. Here's one in Nature. That would be a research one. PubMed. Again, PubMed. So if we go to the second page of this, unless it's just continuous. No, it isn't. All right, so if we looked at this here and we continue on, if you can see along with me, again, there's really nothing research other than medical news today. But if we go to page 2 on Yahoo search, we can see on here Caltech, another one PubMed, BrainMD, Caltech, another research site, or at least journal, PubMed. So you can see here, and this one's .gov, it's a very good search engine for research. Not only just for, say, uncensored content on the dark resources of the web, recesses of the web, but also a good one for research. Now, if we looked at the source again in this article, and I'm going to make it larger, maybe not too large like I end up doing most of the time. Here it is. Although serotonin is well known as a brain neurotransmitter, it is estimated that 90% of the body's serotonin is made in the digestive tract. Certain bacteria in the gut are important for the production of peripheral serotonin. Peripheral serotonin, is produced. There's finally Twitter coming up. Or Twitch, actually. Peripheral serotonin is produced in the digestive tract by enterochromatin cells and also by particular types of immune cells and neurons. Next article. This one, the first one was from a source called in Caltech. This one here is in Frontiers in Neuroscience. Most of the body's serotonin is synthesized and stored in the intestines. Now, it doesn't have it here, but we know that there is the blood-brain barrier. Now, the serotonin that is produced in the gut cannot cross that blood-brain barrier, even though we looked at 90% of that is from the intestines or the gut. So the brain has to produce its own serotonin, that 5 or 10%, and that stays in the brain, and these are the ones that synapse and cause more of the neurotransmitter response versus the hormonal response, if I remember correctly. Both neural and mucosal sources of serotonin, and that's the neural, meaning the brain, and the mucosal, which is dealing more with the periphery, if we're trying to compare apples with apples here with our nomenclature, within the gut, and the widespread and overlapping distribution of specific serotonin receptor subtypes. Perhaps mucosal serotonin only plays a specific role after some kind of pathologic insult, like inflammation. Okay. On the other hand, neuronal serotonin is clearly required for normal function. So we note that the serotonin is important in everyday, just normal things if there's no significant inflammation, right? Clearly, the role of mucosal serotonin remains enigmatic and requires further study, especially as it is the source for all circulating serotonin. So we're saying that we don't know for sure, you know, the process here involved with that. We're looking more into that, and that's going to be very interested in that, looking at that as we look forward into seeing how diet and how the gut bacteria and the microbiome is important in this regulation. Now, we also need to remember, as we look at this, we need to regulate serotonin. There is a condition called serotonin toxicity or serotonin syndrome that usually happens when there are two types of medications that are trying to either repress the or reduce the reuptake of the serotonin, or even the serotonin and the norepinephrine, and the combination with the MAO and different other medications can combine and cause what we call an excess of serotonin. And we see this if we looked at the articles that could be seen in those who have social phobias, people who might be involved with taking the I lost it over some the antidepressants, specifically those that deal with the serotonin, and then they combine these type of treatments like I believe even autism. So these type of people are more prone to serotonin syndrome, so we have to be careful with that. But naturally, if you build the serotonin on your own, and the research is out there as well, that the serotonin studies, especially with exercise, deal with mostly just animal studies. All right, there's very little research that's specific to human subjects. We have the little mice that's swimming or continuously on the wheel, and they sacrifice those and they measure their serotonin, or however they do it, and we note the serum levels of serotonin in the body and how it's important and how exercise can help this. So that is in the clinic setting, we can utilize that information and we can say, okay, the activity can help improve serotonin levels. Now, we're looking specifically how pain is related to those who have specific chronic syndromes, chronic fatigue syndrome, and those other chronic syndromes such as fibromyalgia. These are the neuropathic pain individuals. And these are the people who we are trying to utilize serotonin as our mode of trying to improve their condition. All right. Now, again, we can give lifestyle advice. We always have to refer back to the physician or other people like the naturopath or the registered dietitian that deal anything with diet. But we can give some general recommendations and point them to those things that help, because these things can help to boost their serotonin levels naturally. And we prefer that, I would say, sometimes before having the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, those ones that are dealing with the serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, because we want to prevent just having the drug interactions or either the, I would say, side effects that you have with that, especially for long-term use. All right. And that's been out for a while, but those are fairly new. And in relationship to pain, it is fairly new as well. Now, let's continue on. It is believed to play a key role in the central nervous system and in the general functioning of the body, and especially in the gastrointestinal tract. It is mainly found in the brain, bowels, and blood platelets, so also in the retina. Serotonin is also used to transmit messages between nerve cells. It is thought to be active in constricting smooth muscles, and it contributes to well-being and happiness, among other things. So a lot of times we think about how it affects mood, but it also affects other things as well that we need to also pay attention to. It is produced in the intestines and in the brain. It is also present in blood platelets and the central nervous system. Tryptophan is a precursor, the main ingredient that the body needs to make serotonin. Eating foods high in this essential chemical does not mean that the body will absorb and use it, but making tryptophan available when needed will improve serotonin synthesis. All right, so you're vegging out on the couch after your turkey Thanksgiving dinner, and the tryptophan is kicking in. There's other sources, bananas and such, and nuts that can help with this, but some have higher tryptophan levels and can cause this drowsiness, for instance, and who knows, you could be almost in, well, that's not signs of toxicity of serotonin necessarily, but just overeating and having too many carbs, probably. Sunshine, serotonin, and the skin. So we reviewed that as well. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that is primarily located in the three areas of the body: the central nervous system, the mucosa of the gastrointestinal tract, the largest producer of serotonin, and in the blood platelets. Serotonin is synthesized by the essential amino acid tryptophan, which is orally ingested and found in foods such as bananas, pineapples, plums, turkey, and milk. All right, so we talked about that. In addition to other body sites, the brain, gut, and platelets, serotonin is present in human cutaneous tissue. So this is not necessarily the source, but it is present in the skin. And what does that mean? While the photostimulation of serotonin may be mediated by a number of ways, including the retinopathy tract via the retina, one intriguing possibility is that sunshine may directly stimulate the production of serotonin through the skin, not only with the light that you see through your eyes in the day, but also through your skin, so the exposure of sunlight on the skin. Okay, so this is not a nutritional tidbit, but it is more or less a sunshine hack that we can try to utilize the light and the for circadian rhythms, if anything alone, that's very important to have the sunlight and to have that regulated properly. All right, so let's kind of diverge for a second on this sunlight topic. The common thought is you need to slap some sunscreen on if you're at solar at noontime. Now, we know that the UVB rays are only present mostly between the hours of 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And what do we need to do? Really, what we need to do is to not take a shower for 48 hours. Now, people are not going to do that. Now, again, this is a separate topic than serotonin, but it's very helpful to know this because we want to have this directly through your skin. All right. So the vitamin D production, how it can promote that. Now, we also need to look at the connection with vitamin D, in particular for serotonin and other neurochemicals, neurotransmitters, and biochemical mediators, and how they can affect that as well. So we'll talk about that at maybe another broadcast. How does it affect the immunity? And almost all immune cells express at least one serotonin component. In recent years, a number of immunoregulatory functions have been ascribed to serotonin. In monocytes and macrophages, for example, serotonin modulates cytokine secretion. It modulates it. Serotonin can also suppress the release of tumor necrosis factors alpha and interleukin-1 beta by activating serotonin receptors. So we have to understand that serotonin, not only serotonin, but the serotonin receptors are important in its synthesis and its, its functionality in the body. Furthermore, neutrophil recruitment and T-cell activation can both be mediated by serotonin. So serotonin is very important in the regulation of immunity. If you've already seen that, the word modulate several times already, and how it can affect this. All right. Serotonin, other words mentioned as 5-HT, can also has two lives. Two lives. As a neurotransmitter, we talked about that, as it regulates sleep, appetite, mood, and other brain functions, or in the brain, and separated by the blood-brain barrier and synthesized in a different way, it plays a central role in many organ systems as a peripheral hormone. All right, so it plays a central role in many other organ systems as a peripheral hormone as well. Synthesized in a different way. We have that as a figure in that article. In fact, most of the body's serotonin is circulating in the bloodstream, transported by blood platelets. Most of the peripheral serotonin is synthesized by TPH1 in the enterochromaffin cells of the intestines, secreted into the bloodstream and then taken up by the circulatory platelets. Platelets store serotonin at very high concentrations in their dense granules and secrete it upon activation. Resting plasma serotonin concentrations can rapidly increase or more when platelets become activated at the site of thrombus formation or inflammation. So it's very key in the element of inflammation. So it's in the blood, and it can involve the immune response. More likely that serotonin derived from non-neuronal sources exert most of the immunoregulatory effects. So it's not the ones that are in the brain that's infecting inflammation, it's actually the ones that are in the bloodstream via those pathways that we mentioned. Again, this is all review. We reviewed this from last session, but so much information is in this, and things that you might not have thought of before, and now it is maybe better apparent as we review it again. I know it is for me. The immunoregulatory or modulatory effects of serotonin are mediated primarily through the peripheral mechanisms directed towards circulating immune cells. Possible sources of peripheral serotonin are plasma, the monocytes and macrophages, the lymphocytes, the vascular smooth muscles even, adipocytes, mast cells, and platelets. So this is the source of the non-neuronal or the peripheral or mucosal, in some sense mucosal, but yes, these are the possible sources of the serotonin that is separated by that blood-brain barrier that's involved with the immunoregulatory aspects of serotonin. The neurotransmitter and the peripheral hormone serotonin plays an important role in immunity. So both actually play a role in immunity. So this one's saying it is important also for the neurotransmitter and the peripheral hormone serotonin play an important role in immunity and in inflammatory and immunomodulatory diseases. No matter if the serotonin derives from platelets, mast cells, T cells, or even from neurons. So here it's telling us the importance of having it this can also be involved with the ones that are in the brain. So a while ago I talked about in earlier discussion it says here, more likely that serotonin derived from non-neural sources exerts most of the immunoregulatory effects. Okay, so it may have a smaller role, but it also is important with the neuronal neurotransmitter aspect of it. For example, it influences diseases like gut inflammation, the irritable bowel syndrome, allergic asthma, rheumatoid arthritis. All right, so we're seeing a pattern here of things that might be even considered what we call autoimmune. Neuroinflammation such as ALS and autism. In recent years, we could observe the anti-inflammatory effects of antidepressants influencing serotonin levels in the body in clinical practice that are, for example, mediated via macrophage modulation. It's way down there. Serotonin, let's see if we can have a better view here. It might not be much better. Now we lost our place. Serotonin, I think this is where we are. Seems to be a promising new target when it comes to modulating immune response. The expanded biology of serotonin. Serotonin regulates numerous biological processes, including cardiovascular function, bowel mobility, ejaculatory latency, and bladder control. Almost sounds, well, and that's in some situations it sounds very hormonal, like pituitary-like or hypothalamus. Additionally, new work suggests that serotonin may regulate some processes, including platelet aggregation. Serotonin typically regulates a given physiological process, such as digestion, pain perception, and energy balance, at multiple steps through different and frequently opposing mechanisms. For example, serotonin, not simply pro or anti-analgesic, instead it both potentiates and inhibits nociceptive processing at various levels of the nervous system. So again, the importance of regulatory effects. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and stop again here, because I don't want to again spend a whole hour on this. But again, just a review of serotonin, all right, and the importance of it as we think about it in the future. Now, in future broadcasts, we have to think of other topics as well that we'll be looking at. The next one I think of big interest, not just a neurotransmitter, because we don't want to just focus on neurotransmitters, another one would be peptides, but the role of nitric oxide in pain. That is a very interesting topic, and we have some specific exercises and certain ways that we can enhance nitric oxide, even dietary issues that could be discussed as well. Again, looking at the research, nothing more, not trying to make some claims, not trying to sell any products here, but to look at it factually as we can through our search engine. Thanks again for joining me. Again. I would say the next time we will have this type of broadcast for the scientific aspect, we might have it on the weekend. I like to do the vegan kitchen on Saturday afternoon or even morning, but Saturday afternoon for sure. So tune in for that. We might even do the vegan grocery shopping again on Sunday On Monday, we'll probably be getting back with the broadcast. Now, on Friday, there's a possibility there could be another broadcast, but it might be a little bit different twist. We might be looking at it, and don't be surprised by this, but a little bit more of the spiritual aspect. And in this situation, we might even look at it through ancient text. All right, so that's going to be an interesting way to look at it, and the philosophy based on the findings that I've had, and the reason why we're dealing with the things that we're doing in the fashion that we are, especially when it comes to diet. And actually, there are 8 natural hacks or principles of health that I need to get you more aware of, and these are all based on these writings that were even before the turn of the century, and those that even happened in ancient times. All right, so thank you once again for joining me here for the live stream. Good night.